Okay, people, so we definitely got to talk about My Hero Academia after chapter 322. In particular, something regarding Bakugo, but also there's a part of the chapter that I'm not seeing enough people talking about that I personally want to talk about and stress to a certain degree, because I agree with what is going on in that section of the chapter, despite maybe fans might say, I don't know, Fornev, because the whole vibe of the last, I don't know how many chapters now, My Hero Academia, was the whole friendship, stand by your people's side, all of that jazz. Like you see, we just went through like how many chapters now of Class 1A, trying to bring Deku back to UA, and all of that jazz. So that's been the type of vibe for the most part, stand beside, and at the end of the day, the big message that Uraraka left at the end of the chapter, who's gonna save the heroes when the heroes need saving. So it's been that whole camaraderie vibe to a certain degree, but also I gotta look at it from the other side of things in terms of what the civilians think and feel about all of this. So definitely we're gonna dive into it, because yeah, it seems to be the end of Class 1A versus Deku, basically trying to bring him back, and also that gigantic, humongous moment with Bakugo that you could argue is the most pivotal Bakugo moment of the My Hero Academia manga up to this point. So yeah, without further ado, let's talk a little bit of that My Hero Academia, lads.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
So the chapter starts off with some really nice art of Deku. I ain't gonna lie, the shading and all that jazz just look great. And Deku is saying, I have to free myself from his grasp, but I don't have enough strength left to do it. And I want to say what he's meaning by that, free myself from his grasp, is the grasp of All For One, and how he has him in his grasp of basically doing what he wants to a certain degree, tearing himself apart, bringing himself down in order to try and stop him. Like All For One has been to a certain degree playing Deku like a fiddle ever since he said, you're next, you know, imitating All Might, and everything that went down in the last, what, 6 months or so of chapters since the end of the war, and how we had this little, you know, Deku on his own vigilante status. And picking up for where the last one left off, after Ida was basically trying to, you know, grab a hold of Deku, and they've been going through, because be honest with you, this whole 1A thing of them, you know, trying to bring back Deku has been going on for quite some time. I was shocked when we were in this chapter, and it was still, to a certain degree, still going, because it's been like, what, 3 or 4 chapters, and don't get me wrong, it is a pivotal moment, don't get me wrong. I know that for the most part, Horikoshi has pushed the message time and time again that Class 1A sticks together. They have a bond, they have a camaraderie, all of them, not just 2 characters, not just 3 characters, it's the entire class that they work together, they care about each other, they have this bond. But fam, yeah, this one lasted quite some time. And you know, I want to ask you guys the big question right here before we even go further, right? Because I've seen a lot of chitter chatter back and forth about how people are feeling regarding Deku returning to 1A and the setups prior to that. Like, it's a conflicting thing, right? Because the whole message, again, like I just stated, of the series was Class 1A sticking together, friends, all of that jazz, you know, typical Shonen Jump stuff that's there. But then at the same time, you could argue that since this little arc began of Deku as a vigilante, it kind of felt like it was setting things up for Deku to be on his own. You know, the series went really, really dark. So to go and put all this, what seemingly felt like foreshadowing and, you know, a new look to My Hero Academia, and kind of drag him back to 1A when it felt like it was prepping him to not be with 1A, to be on his own, to be his own hero, so to speak, it kind of feels like it's counterintuitive. So what do you guys think about that whole scenario that a lot of people are talking about regarding Deku being dragged back, even though, again, it felt like it was setting up for him to be on his own? To be honest with you, the whole message there was the fact that you can't do it on your own. Deku tried to do it on his own. All the setup was, hey, can Deku do this on his own? No, he can't. So his people are coming to help him and save him, because him doing it on his own ran him ragged. So I definitely think that, yeah, it did feel like it was trying to attempt to see how Deku would fare doing things as a solo hero and stuff like that. And it's also showcasing that it's called My Hero Academia. They're still students to the game. They're not ready for that life yet. He's not All Might yet. Even though he may have powers that rival or surpass All Might in his prime, he's still not ready to be All Might, or to be whoever he is going to be, Deku. Deku. He still has a ways to go. The academia is still there. Now, if we got a time skip series and, it's My Hero Society, that's a different ball game, but we're still in the academic portion, and these are lessons that needed to be learned. So that's my stance on that in terms of, yeah, it would have been insane, and I really like that dark vibe of Deku being on his own, but that dark vibe was to show that Deku's not ready for that life. Not yet. But going back to the events, Uraraka releases the gravity hold that she had on Deku, and him and Ida land, and Kirishima catches them again, showing all of the teamwork that they have going on as Class 1A. And then Kirishima had a flashback again, and he was like, man, when I saw that in the news, I was about to say all those years ago, but it was probably about a year at this point at most, regarding when Deku went to save Bakugo and he didn't think of it or anything like that, how it just inspired him and helped him become who he is today. Again, just pushing forth the whole thing of Deku is important to everybody. I think Horikoshi wanted to showcase Deku's bond and his impact to each and everybody from this class that all stick together and care about each other. And this right here kind of felt, because to be honest with you, even throughout the chapter, even towards the end, Deku is still hesitant, because when Mina is like, yo, please come back to class with us, once again begging Deku, and Deku still at that point, after everything that we just went through the last however many chapters, Deku's still like, yo, I get it, I know it would be nice, it's a good, it's a fun idea, but the fact of the matter is he's too scared for the people at UA, he don't want to cause trouble for anyone, and things just can't go back to how they used to be. And right there, insert where we get the biggest moment for Bakugo. Bakugo has a humongous moment right here. Arguably, I don't even want to say arguably, because I feel like this is definitely the most important Bakugo moment the entirety of My Hero Academia. I don't remember a moment more impactful for Bakugo than this. And we've had some big moments. We've had character development for him. We've seen his relationship little by little grow between him and Deku. But this right here was the big creme de la creme, taking Bakugo away from that major aspect that a lot of people didn't like. Like, to this day, you could still argue, yo, Bakugo, as much as we've seen from him, and considering there was no tragic backstory, there was nothing that made you feel sympathetic towards his anger, he was just a bully. And him apologizing there, I think that spoke volumes for a lot of the character, but also probably going to clear a lot of cobwebs away from feelings that people may have had for Bakugo. The fact that you were, and for the most part, a lot of My Hero Academia stood as a bully. You bullied Deku, little shit, you worthless little shit, you ain't better than me, you ain't shit. And when he had this moment where he was just straight up forward, matured and just showcased somebody, he was on some manly shit, on a manly vibe of admitting his wrongs, because he tells Deku, remember when Shigaraki stabbed through me, or I think he said try to make me Swiss cheese or whatever, but basically back in the war whatnot, and he told Deku, stop trying to win this on your own, that he had more to say, which already that was kind of a powerful message that Deku probably should have listened to and not try to go off for like a good 10-15 chapters and do things on his own. He heard Bakugo and he was like, oh yo, I hear you fam, but I got my own little solo journey to do for the next couple volumes. We'll get back to that. And he says, my body moved on its own back then, referencing all the way when Deku did that, when he saved Bakugo, which this chapter used that moment twice. Now that I think about it, it was Kirishima first, which also makes sense, like the two BFFs are thinking alike, Kirishima and Bakugo, because Bakugo thinks back to when Deku saved them and how Deku said, I don't know, my body just moved on its own, which also demonstrates a lot. Like, that demonstrates a lot in terms of Bakugo is really thinking like a hero, and he's been thinking like a hero for quite some time. Like, they're ready to be heroes at this point. They're understanding that you can't do it on your own. They're understanding what it means to be a hero, but especially Bakugo, because that was something that wasn't a part of Bakugo's MO. Like, for crying out loud, he calls himself Killer Dynamite or whatever the fuck his name is and shit. And for him to say, my body moved on its own, that's the signs of a hero. That, Ultra Instinct vibes, And he goes on to say, I always looked down on you, Deku. You were supposed to be beneath me, but all this time it pissed me off that you weren't beneath me, and I always felt like you were actually above me. So it was kind of a conflict within himself that he was like, yo, you're supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, again, just not even kind of, exactly what it is that he was a bully, and even though him and Deku were childhood friends, he got to a certain point where he had this mentality of, I'm gonna be a bully because you ain't shit. But he noticed every time he tried to bully this kid, he felt like, damn, I'm trying to bully him, but I can't really get my bullying off because he's not letting me bully him, because he's kind of awesome to a certain degree and it's pissing me off. So yeah, that's kind of like the mindset of a bully, in my opinion. And when we had the kind of cut back between, them now and having them as they're speaking look like children for a bit and then back and forth, it gave me Naruto and Sasuke vibes. vibes, to be honest with you. Especially kind of reminded me, I think what they did, it was Storm 4, if I'm not mistaken, when they're battling and you see them like in the schoolyard and shit. I don't know why that kind of just cut to my mind. Maybe I really like Naruto a lot or something. I don't freaking know, but it gave me Naruto vibes, seeing them again as, you know, their age now, and then as children, and then back and forth, and I liked it. I ain't gonna lie, it kind of gave a little more of an emotional vibe between the two of them, because again, if you don't think that way, you're gonna just be like, oh, the bully is admitting he was a bitch all along. No. And again, it just continued to give a lot of development, and the hugest moment, in my opinion, for Bakugo as a character, when he says, you know, I kept you at arm's length, and I treated you horribly. I was mean to you and all that jazz, but this past year at UA taught me a lot. Being around Deku and being in this environment really helped Bakugo, and this is giving a full 180 or full 360 scope of Bakugo's character then and now. And right here, y'all ready for it? This was the ultimate character development, arguably the best character development, the best character developing moment for that matter in the entirety of this series, when Bakugo says, Izuku, I'm sorry for everything. Calling him Izuku, not saying Deku, because Deku, don't forget how he got that name to begin with. It was a slur to him. He was talking down to him. He was talking shit. So for him to actually refer to him as Izuku and apologize for everything, this is the moment a lot of My Hero Academia fans been waiting for a very long time. If Bakugo wasn't going to become an evil character, he wasn't going to go up to the dark side and be with the League of Villains, if he wasn't going to go that way, then we ultimately needed him to grow up and come and say, I was wrong, I fucked up, I'm sorry. And he did, and then some. And best character development moment, like, and you know, you could chime in right now if you want, comment, let me know, is there a character that had a bigger and more impactful developing moment than Bakugo did just now, with him apologizing and referring to Deku by his proper name? Like, it's kind of crazy to see it come full circle, to think about it, that he called himself Deku out of a slur, and now ultimately, you know, Bakugo saying, no, it's Izuku, and I'm sorry for everything. Like, impactful shit. And then he goes on to say, which I've said that line like 3 times now, he's gone on to say, but Bakugo had a lot to say in this chapter, which he had a lot to answer for anyway, so whatever. There's nothing wrong with the path you've been walking down, following the same path as All Might, but look at you now, you can barely stand. Basically saying like, yo, you can't do it alone. Like, that's, I think, the biggest thing about this entire arc since we started all of this, you know, vigilante Deku doing it all on his own, is that it was teaching you, giving you a full-on demonstration of you can't do it alone. You need people's help. You need people by your side to lift you when you fall. And that's a really powerful thing. Like, sometimes in life, I, even as a real life person, you know what I'm saying? I go through that shit sometimes too, where I feel like I'm going to take the world on my shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's problems is my problems. I got this. Don't worry about it. Don't put your head into it. Let me take care of it. And it'll break you down. And to see that it broke Deku down, and it took even his rival that was just a piece of shit to him for 300 chapters to come in and say, I was a piece of shit. You don't need to do this anymore on your own. I'm not going to be a piece of shit anymore. Well, I don't know if he said that part, I'm not going to be a piece of shit anymore, because he could turn around and say, yeah, so Deku, you piece of shit, get back up. But the point being, you can't do it alone. Big point right there. You cannot do it alone. Following that, Deku apologizes for telling them that they can't keep up with him, and he falls out into Bakugo's arms, which a lot of people took that as, oh snap, another Fujoshi Mineta moment. I still can't believe people were going off about Mineta and all that shit. Like, what is going on here? People must have got the whole Robin Batman news confused with Mineta or something. I don't know. And we're not going to divulge into that conversation now, are we, lads? Let's move on. And it was a nice little spread of getting all the reactions of the members of Class 1A, where they say mission cleared, but we still got a lot more of a perilous situation to go. So it kind of felt like it was supposed to be basically the cap on this whole Deku retrieval arc to a certain degree. Get him back, get him to come to UA, get him to stop destroying himself, so to speak. And Deku still got to answer to All Might too. Like, even once all the dust is settled between him and everybody in Class 1A, he better go to All Might, because I ain't gonna lie, it will be a real tragic moment, and I didn't think about this until this very moment. It would be tragic as hell if he never got to make up with All Might after what he did to him back there, where he just left him there to fall with the lunch that he made him and everything. That would be ultimate right there. Sad writing if they did it. Or the Koshi. Yeah, you're gonna make dudes cry if you do that shit. Like, no. Although we do know that All Might, He might have a death day coming. It's still not confirmed if it's stopped or not. But then we cut to Deku waking up in front of UA. It looks like Fort Knox now. Holy shit, the new structure of UA. That principal made sure to put everything he possibly could into making that shit like a bomb shelter. Like, it just looked way different. Doesn't look like a school by any means anymore. And he's hearing the situation, and they're saying how, you know, a lot of civilians that were initially a part of the anti-hero group have since given up, and they've taken shelter in places like UA and things like that. How vigilante groups are springing up. Like, it's just a lot that is going on right now. And I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of frustrated when, after everything we just went through, all of it, Deku yet again says, no, but I can't go back. No, oh my god, no. Deku, I swear to God, if we go through this shit again, I'm going to jump into the manga and slap the shit out of you at this point. Take their hands, enough. And here's one of the other key elements. I told you guys there was key elements to this chapter, one of which was the big moment with Bakugo. Another key element that we need to discuss is the crowd. The crowd that was surrounding UA in this chapter. We need to talk about that, because I'll be honest with you, I agree with him. I get the message, all of that 1A shit, but that don't got nothing to do with these civilians, that they're taking their families, their children, all of that jazz. They're going to UA. They think it's a safe place, you know, a safe shelter for them. And then when they arrive there, it's like, the problem? Y'all brought the problem here? Because a lot of the civilians are like, yo, get that boy out of here. What are y'all doing right now? What is he doing here? Like, wasn't it, because they, I guess, got the intel that Shigaraki was after somebody, and they know now that it was Deku that Shigaraki was after. Why are you bringing him here? I 100% agree with them. Take him somewhere else. Like, principal, make a subsect of UA or something, a smaller compound somewhere else. Get him out of there. Why are you bringing him where all the civilians are? You're being selfish. UA 1A, they're being selfish, because bringing Deku there, I don't give a fuck what type of fortified security you got. If All For One brings a whole bunch of powerful people are going to get hurt and possibly die in their quest to save Deku. I get it. Deku's a hero. He needs saving, all of that jazz. Kudos. Take a whole bunch of heroes and put that motherfucker somewhere else. Don't endanger civilians. Like, I just gotta keep it real. That's how I felt. And you got 1A, they all grabbing hands like, we're not letting go, lads. We're saving him. Like, fuck off. Like, the civilians, the people you're supposed to be protecting, need to feel safe. And I understand, like, who saves the heroes. So it's kind of a conflict, but here, problem solved. Go make another base somewhere else and put Deku over there, or take the civilians to another base and leave Deku there. You can't have both. You can't have it both ways, because that's not fair to these people, their families, their children. It's not. And I know some people are going to feel a certain way about my rant, but it is what it is. If I was there with my child, if I was in that situation, I'm going to say the same thing. Get that little boy the fuck out of here, or me and my family are leaving, and I would be in the right. Those people are in the right. But yeah, the Deku Retrieval arc seemingly wrapped itself up there. I'm not 100% sure it's not going to spring up again, because Deku is still like, yo, I can't be here, and he might just say, yo, realistically, I gotta go. Y'all want to follow me? Feel free, but I can't be here. And I hope it goes that route. Like, I hope they don't just hole up Deku inside of UA. Like, nah. All For One's gonna come and bomb the shit out of that, and people are gonna get hurt. Deku doesn't need to be with the civilians. And your thoughts on, just in general, this chapter? How did you feel about Bakugo's humongous moment, saying he's sorry, apologizing after all the bullying and harassment and everything he did to Deku? And your overall thoughts and expectations for the My Hero Academia manga with chapter 323 and beyond. Yeah, I don't know where things is going right now. I just hope that it doesn't try and pull some, like, everything's all hunky-dory now. Like, yeah, like, no, those civilians are right. Bakugo just had an amazing moment. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life. Bye. Have an awesome day. Peace and wow, Bakugo really just stole the show with this chapter. Like, huge character development. I'm all here for it. Have an awesome one. So just go to